what is the real reason businesses fail today? I mean, is it a tough market, brutal competition, the unstoppable rise of AI?
Right. The usual suspects.
Exactly. But think about it for a second. Imagine you go to this newly opened, incredibly hyped restaurant.
Oh, I love this analogy.
Right. Like the chef is a known genius, the food on the plate is technically perfect,
Sounds great so far.
but your table is wobbly, the dining room is deafeningly loud, the waiter is just like completely rude to you, and it takes 3 agonizing hours just to get the check.
Yeah, that ruins the whole night.
Are you going back? Probably not. And you're not going to write him this long, detailed letter explaining why,
No, of course not.
you're just going to take your money somewhere else next Friday.
Yeah. It is the invisible killer of modern enterprise.
Right.
It's this total collapse of the customer experience, which is just entirely obscured by the illusion of having a great product. So true. So our mission for this deep dive today is to really cut through the futuristic tech hype and discover the, well, profoundly unsexy fundamental truths about why companies actually lose clients.
Yeah. The real reasons.
We are pulling from this grounded, almost brutally honest article from Stella Pop. It's titled, 4 Things Businesses Need to Get Right to Stay Relevant and Open. And okay, let's unpack this because the premise is completely counterintuitive.
It really is.
We spend all our time agonizing over shiny new tools, right? Obsessing over our tech stack and our innovative market positioning.
Which is what everyone tells you to do.
Exactly. But this source suggests we are failing because we're simply, well, exhausting to work with.
Yeah. And if we connect this to the bigger picture of the modern business environment, it makes a lot of sense.
How so?
Well, the baseline psychology of the buyer is completely different than it was, say, even 10 years ago.
Oh, for sure.
Buyers today, they just have zero patience and zero tolerance for confusion. None at all.
Because they are operating at maximum cognitive capacity all day long. I mean, they are inundated with emails, Slack messages, market shifts, internal pressures from their boss.
Just constant noise.
Right. They literally do not have the mental bandwidth to decipher a complicated vendor relationship.
It's just too much.
The moment you introduce friction into their day, you become a liability to them. It really doesn't matter how brilliant your actual deliverables might be.
Which is wild, right? If the buyer's brain is already full, being the smartest person in the room isn't the competitive advantage we all think it is.
Not anymore.
The source argues the real advantage is being the path of least resistance.
Yeah, the Stella Pop article makes a really pointed observation here. The most creative companies with the best pitches, they do not always win.
Really?
Nope. The companies that win are the ones that are, quote, easy to say yes to.
Easy to say yes to. That makes sense.
When a buyer is overwhelmed from every single direction, interacting with a company that is responsive, organized, clear, calm, it doesn't just feel like a smart business decision. It feels like relief.
Wow. Relief. So if working with you involves, like, waiting 3 days for an email reply.
Or sitting through those totally confusing onboarding calls.
The worst.
Yeah.
Where nobody knows who is actually in charge.
Right.
When you do that, you are creating friction. And the scary part is, friction doesn't show up as complaints. It shows up as silence.
Just total silence.
Like, people don't call you up to say they're leaving because your team is difficult. They just stop calling.
Exactly.
It actually reminds me of the dynamic on a dating app.
Yeah.
You might have the absolute best profile, the wittiest bio, the best photos.
But if you take 4 days to text back.
Yeah. Or you only speak in these weird cryptic riddles.
Right, the person just moves on. They don't send you a detailed exit interview about your poor texting habits.
Right. Here's why I'm ghosting you.
They just unmatch. The ghosting phenomenon it's honestly just as prevalent in B2B transactions as it is in modern dating.
Okay, I hear that. But let me push back a little here.
Sure.
If I'm hiring highly specialized engineering firm or like a top-tier creative agency, I want the absolute genius.
You want the best.
Yeah. I feel like I'm willing to deal with disorganized emails or eccentric personalities if the math is perfect. Or if the design is revolutionary, does quality really take a back seat just because someone is, a little harder to reach?
It's a really common assumption. But let's look at the actual mechanics of what happens when you hire that eccentric genius.
Okay.
If that genius requires the client to spend, say, 3 hours a week managing them, chasing down files, translating their chaotic updates into something the executive board can actually understand.
Oh, right.
That client is now doing your job.
That's a good point.
You have added a massive cognitive load to their plate. Quality is a prerequisite, of course.
Yeah, you still have to be good.
But the delivery mechanism of that quality matters just as much. The source outlines a very practical reality here. Eventually, a stressed-out buyer will gladly trade a 10% drop in pure creative brilliance for a 100% increase in operational peace of mind.
Wow. Every time.
Every single time.
That shifts the perspective entirely.
Yeah.
So, okay, you win the client by being the path of least resistance. You offer relief.
Step one.
But being easy to work with on day one doesn't mean anything if you drop the ball on day 30.
Exactly.
Which is why the source points out that the very next hurdle is delivering when you said you would. Deadlines.
Yeah. And the source makes a very distinct pivot here. They argue that missing deadlines renders your entire strategy and all your great ideas completely useless.
Because it's not really about time, is it?
No, it's not. Deadlines are a proxy for trust.
Trust. Yeah. Every single time you commit to a date, you are telling the client they can rely on you.
And every time you miss it, you are proving they cannot.
The pattern of distrust builds so much faster than most teams realize.
It really does.
Crucially, Stella Pop notes that companies constantly think they have a workload problem, when in reality, they actually have a discipline problem.
That's a huge distinction.
They have unclear ownership, unrealistic scopes, and just way too many of these almost done projects floating around.
What's fascinating here is that this completely redefines what it means to run a business well.
Right.
Running well doesn't mean working harder or pushing your team to stay at the office until midnight to brute force a deliverable.
Just burning everyone out.
Right. It means working cleanly.
Clean operations. That's an interesting way to frame it. It makes me think of a kitchen again.
Oh, let's hear it.
It's like a head chef blaming the oven for being too slow, when the real issue is they just crammed way too many highly complex dishes onto the menu at the exact same time.
Precisely. The oven is functioning exactly as it should. Your discipline in creating the menu is the actual bottleneck.
Right.
Working cleanly means having clear ownership, knowing exactly whose name is next to the final deliverable.
Accountability.
Yes. And it means having a realistic scope from day one. I mean, if you have 50 projects that are 90% done, you have delivered zero value to the market.
50 times 0 is still 0.
Exactly.
So how does a company actually transition from that chaotic workload problem to fixing the discipline problem? Like, what does that look like on a random Tuesday afternoon?
Well, it requires an active, often really uncomfortable intervention.
Uncomfortable how?
A project manager literally has to walk into a room, look at the board, and physically pause 5 projects that are 90% done just to push one across the finish line.
Oh, that is tough. People hate stopping work.
They do. It requires the discipline to say no, to simplify processes, and to stop optimizing for how busy the team looks.
Instead of just looking dizzy.
Right. You optimize for maintaining an unbroken chain of trust with the buyer.
Okay, but let's look at the reality of client work for a second. The scope changes all the time.
Oh, constantly.
The client comes in mid-flight and asks for like 3 brand new features. Isn't missing a deadline entirely justified if the parameters of the project suddenly expand?
Well, if the scope changes, the agreement must change. And that requires immediate, transparent communication.
Right. You have to talk to them.
The failure isn't that the original date was passed. The failure is letting the date pass without managing the expectation.
Ah, I see.
Working cleanly means the moment the client asks for an extra feature, you say, we can absolutely do that, but it moves the delivery date to Thursday. Do you want to proceed?
You put the agency right back in their hands.
Exactly. The discipline problem the source warns about is when teams try to just absorb the new scope.
Like, sure, we'll figure it out.
Right. They heroically try to hit the old deadline anyway, inevitably fail, and then deliver a half-finished product 2 days late with a bunch of excuses.
Oh, man.
That sequence right there is what destroys trust.
So, okay, the deliverable is in. You were easy to work with. You managed the scope cleanly, and you hit the deadline. The invoice is paid.
Sounds like a success.
But suddenly, 6 months later, the client doesn't renew. Why?
This is the tricky part.
Because doing the work is no longer enough if you don't explicitly prove its value. And this is the third fundamental from our source. Communicating results.
Yes. This is where highly competent businesses routinely sabotage themselves.
They just do the work and hide.
They do exactly what they were hired to do. They build the software, they launch the campaign, they finalize the financial report, and then they just move on to the next task in the queue.
Just checking boxes.
They leave the client sitting there in the dark, wondering what actually happened.
Doing great work without explicitly communicating it it's like secretly paying off a friend's credit card.
That's a brilliant way to look at
Like,
it.
it's an incredibly generous, highly valuable thing to do,
That's
right?
huge value.
But if you never actually tell them you did it, they're still going to be sitting at home stressed out about their debt. You solve the problem, but you didn't remove the anxiety. And you certainly aren't going to get any credit for being a great friend.
Right. And in a business context, that silence creates a vacuum. And doubt immediately fills that vacuum.
Which is dangerous. So what does this all mean? How do we stop that doubt? The source gives us a very specific framework. Every single time you deliver something, you must answer 4 simple questions.
What did we do? What happened? Why does it matter? And what do we do next?
And you have to do it without hiding behind complex metrics or industry jargon. Just total clarity.
The psychology of the corporate environment honestly makes those 4 questions mandatory.
Why mandatory?
Think about your main point of contact at the client company. That person has a boss.
Right. Always a bigger boss.
And one day, that boss is going to look at a budget spreadsheet and ask, hey, what are we paying these guys for?
Oof. That's the dreaded question. And if we haven't armed our point of contact with a clear, jargon-free explanation, they are going to struggle to justify our existence.
Exactly. They won't know what to say.
But I have to ask, doesn't spelling out exactly what we just did feel a bit patronizing to the client? I mean, they hired us. They have access to the analytics dashboard.
You'd think so, right?
Should the results just speak for themselves? If sales go up, won't they just notice?
That is the single most dangerous assumption a vendor can make.
Really?
The source issues a stark warning about this exact mindset. If you do not define the value, someone else will, and you probably won't like their version.
Wow. So they just invent a narrative.
Right. Results never speak for themselves because results are always subject to interpretation.
That makes a lot of sense.
If you leave a client alone with a raw analytics dashboard, they might focus on the one metric that dipped. They'll ignore the 5 that skyrocketed, and they'll decide the entire project was a failure.
Just based on one bad chart.
You have to be the one translating the raw data into a narrative.
So you're not patronizing them, you're actually equipping them.
Yes.
You're giving them the narrative armor they need to defend you internally.
Exactly. You are removing the friction of them having to figure out if you did a good job.
Which brings us perfectly to the 4th fundamental in the Stella Pop piece.
Yeah.
Let's recap. We've talked about being easy to work with to reduce friction.
Check.
We've talked about hitting deadlines to build trust.
Yep.
We've talked about communicating results to prove value. But the 4th pillar that holds all of this up is having an actual strategy.
Which a lot of people skip.
Focusing on direction over mere activity. And here's where it gets really interesting, because this is where the conversation around artificial intelligence suddenly becomes extremely relevant.
Oh, absolutely. It is the ultimate trap of the modern business era.
Everyone is talking about AI.
Everyone is adopting it. Everyone assumes it is their ultimate competitive advantage.
Right.
But the source makes a crucial distinction. AI is not an advantage. It is simply access.
Access to speed, access to volume.
Yes.
AI can write the emails, it can design the graphics, it can analyze the spreadsheets, and it can automate the entire workflow.
It can do all the doing.
But it fundamentally cannot decide what actually matters to your specific business.
That's the key.
Right now, according to the source, companies are producing more content, more campaigns, and more daily activity than ever before in human history.
Just a tidal wave of stuff.
But they are doing it with less clarity. That isn't progress. It's just noise.
And if you do not have a strategy, if you do not know exactly who your customer is, what drives actual results, and what distractions to ignore AI, just makes your lack of strategy more obvious.
It's like handing a massive megaphone to someone who has no idea what they want to say.
That is spot on.
It makes their voice much, much louder. It amplifies their reach exponentially. But they're just broadcasting deafening static to the entire neighborhood.
Just blasting noise at everyone.
If you are a chaotic business, AI just turns you into a faster chaotic business.
That is the danger of automating high-friction experiences. If your onboarding process is confusing and terrible and you use AI to scale it,
You're just doing terrible onboarding faster.
you aren't improving your business. You are just alienating your clients at an unprecedented scale.
Wow.
The businesses that are actually winning are not the ones doing more things. They are doing the right things consistently.
Quality over quantity.
They establish the human strategy first. And only then do they apply AI to move faster in that specific, highly defined direction.
But wait, given how fast the technology is moving, isn't it only a matter of time before that changes?
What do you mean?
Well, AI is learning at an unbelievable rate. It's digesting entire industries and recognizing patterns we can't even see. Won't we reach a point where AI analyzes the market and makes those strategic judgment calls better than a human executive can?
This raises an important question about the nature of judgment versus computation.
Okay, lay it on me.
While AI might eventually predict market trends with high accuracy, the source firmly asserts that true judgment is strictly a human domain.
Judgment.
Yes, judgment is the decision of what matters to your specific brand identity. It's understanding the nuanced, unstated emotional needs of your specific client.
The things that aren't in a spreadsheet.
Exactly. A machine can optimize for a metric, but a human has to decide if that metric aligns with the soul of the company.
Right.
Multiplying activity without that human anchor is actively dangerous. Strategy is largely about choosing what not to do.
Which AI isn't great at.
AI, in its current form, is a machine designed to do more. Without a human pulling the reins, telling it where to go and what to ignore, you just end up with an overwhelming avalanche of generic output.
And it all circles back to the idea of cognitive load, doesn't it?
Full circle.
If everyone is using AI to produce an avalanche of generic output, the buyers are going to be more overwhelmed than ever.
Which makes being the path of least resistance even more valuable.
Exactly. So let's recap the through line for you, listening right now. The source makes one thing painfully clear. The fundamental rules of business have not changed, but the stakes have absolutely skyrocketed.
People have less time, less patience, and literally zero tolerance for delay or confusion.
It comes down to operational mastery over technological novelty.
Beautifully said.
If you get these 4 fundamentals right, if you're genuinely easy to work with, if you are fiercely reliable with your deadlines, if you are crystal clear in communicating your value, and if you stay focused on a real strategy rather than just being busy, you don't have to chase relevance.
No, you become it.
You become it. So we want to leave you with a gut check. The article asks these directly, and you need to answer them honestly for yourself as you look at your own daily operations.
These are tough questions.
Are you actually easy to work with, or do your clients constantly have to chase you down for updates?
Do you hit your deadlines, or are you always preparing a clever excuse for why you missed them?
Do you clearly show your results, or do you just arrogantly assume people can see how hard you're working?
And finally, do you have a true strategy, or are you just using new tools to stay incredibly, exhaustingly busy?
You probably already know the answers.
The truth is usually uncomfortable when we look in the mirror, but confronting those operational bottlenecks is really the only place to start building real, resilient value.
It's the only way forward. And that leads us to one final, slightly provocative thought for you to chew on today.
Oh, I like where this is going.
We've established that the ultimate competitive advantage right now is simply being reliable, clear, and easy to work with in a chaotic world. But what happens in 5 years?
When things change again.
Right. What happens when AI tools inevitably force every single business to flawlessly master these operational basics?
That's a scary thought.
Once baseline reliability, perfect communication, and zero-friction onboarding are completely automated across the board, will the pendulum swing back? When everyone is perfectly, artificially reliable, will radical, unpredictable, messy human creativity become the absolute only way to stand out again?
That is fascinating.
Something to think about the next time you find yourself sitting at a wobbly table waiting 3 hours for the check, wondering why on earth they can't just get the basics right.